The clock read 2:17 a.m. when my phone rang, jolting me awake. My wife's name flashed on the screen, and the panic in her voice was unmistakable. I, I need you. Please. Come quick, she stammered. Just hours earlier, she had been smug, dismissive, and defiantly indifferent. It's not your business where I'm going, she had said, tossing me a teasing smile as she grabbed her coat and keys, leaving the house with a confident stride. I had warned her, calmly but firmly, about the consequences of sneaking out at odd hours, about boundaries and respect. But she brushed it off, laughing at what she thought was my overreaction. Now, hearing her voice on the phone, a cocktail of fear and urgency, my blood ran cold. Something had clearly gone wrong. I grabbed my coat, keys, and wallet and rushed out into the night. The streets were silent, the world asleep, except for the gnawing fear that something far beyond my worst suspicions had occurred. When I arrived, I found her pacing frantically in a dimly lit parking lot near a motel she had mentioned casually the week before. Her hair was disheveled, her makeup smudged, and her eyes wide with fear. In her hand was a phone, showing frantic messages from a man whose name made my stomach twist. I didn't mean for this to happen, she said, voice trembling, tears streaking down her cheeks. Something happened. I stayed calm, letting her panic fuel my resolve. This was the moment I had suspected for months, the confirmation that she had been hiding a life I had never known. Her defiance, her dismissive attitude toward my concern had been the first warning signs, and now everything had come to a head. I didn't scream, I didn't shout. I observed, collected evidence mentally, and waited for the full story. She admitted that she had been seeing him for months, meeting secretly while claiming late nights at work or social outings with friends. She had flaunted the secrecy with my daughter even, laughing about how he didn't need to know. It was more than betrayal. It was audacious, cruel, and deliberate. She had manipulated trust, using my concern against me, hiding infidelity behind a veil of lies, deception, and false confidence. I left her in the parking lot, letting the panic settle and the reality hit. Back at home, I began planning my next steps carefully. Anger burned, yes, but I knew precision and strategy would serve better than raw emotion. First, I secured all evidence: text messages, emails, location data, photographs from her phone when she wasn't paying attention. Every clandestine meeting, every secret message, every act of betrayal, meticulously documented. This wasn't just revenge. It was a foundation to ensure she could never manipulate or gaslight me again. Next, I prepared the legal groundwork. Divorce papers were drafted, custody arrangements outlined, financial protections put in place. I didn't need to act rashly. The law, evidence, and careful documentation were more powerful than confrontation or anger. Over the next few days, she attempted to manipulate the narrative. "It's a mistake," she pleaded. "It's just, I don't know what I was thinking. Please, let's work it out." I listened politely with a calmness that unnerved her. I didn't react. I didn't argue. Her panic, her fear, the fragility of her carefully constructed deceit, it was already working against her. She had assumed I would beg or forgive, that her charm could erase months of betrayal. She was wrong. Then came the first public demonstration of the consequences. I informed mutual friends and family discreetly, sharing only the evidence, not exaggeration or malice. The shock on their faces was palpable. The web of lies she had woven was now transparent to everyone she had trusted to conceal it. I made it clear: the marriage was over. The trust was irreparably broken. Custody and financial matters would proceed legally, with careful attention to fairness, but no room for manipulation. Weeks later, the impact of my deliberate, calculated response became evident. She was forced to confront the magnitude of her betrayal. She realized the relationships she had assumed she could exploit were no longer under her control. Friends and family, who had been her silent enablers, now distanced themselves. She had assumed loyalty and discretion, but the consequences of her actions were undeniable. During this time, I also reinforced boundaries at home. Every account, every key, Every line of access was reviewed and secured. She had assumed freedom, secrecy, and control, but I systematically removed every advantage she had taken for granted. Her panic had transformed into desperation. Her attempts at manipulation became transparent. She begged, tried to justify, tried to shift blame. I remained calm, unwavering, and resolute. The evidence, the law, and my measured actions spoke louder than any argument or tearful plea. The final step of revenge came when the legal proceedings reached completion. Divorce was finalized. Custody arrangements were fair but carefully structured to prevent manipulation. Financial protections ensured she couldn't exploit the situation. The life she had assumed she could control through secrecy and charm was gone. In the aftermath, I reflected on what had transpired. The panic call at 2 a.m. had been the catalyst for everything. It revealed truth, exposed betrayal, and set in motion a chain of events that restored balance and accountability. The calculated, deliberate response ensured that she could no longer manipulate, deceive, or control. Revenge, I realized, is not always about anger or public spectacle. It is about precision, preparation, and ensuring that those who betray you face consequences that are proportional and inevitable. My wife had thought she could defy boundaries, manipulate trust, and act without consequence. That night, she learned that deception has a price, and calculated action ensures it is paid in full. In the weeks and months that followed, life slowly returned to normal. Trust rebuilt with those who deserved it, boundaries strengthened, and the house, my children, and my dignity fully reclaimed. She had learned, too late, that her choices had irrevocable consequences, and I had delivered a revenge both measured and definitive. The panic call at 2 a.m. wasn't just a moment of fear, it was the beginning of the end for her deceit and the start of reclaiming my life, my power, and my peace.